Hello everyone. So welcome to episode 81 of Teh Tarik with Walid, and I am not exaggerating. I am in the presence of greatness. It's someone I have always admired for many years, and I was today has been a pretty rough day for me, and I wouldn't have done this episode and if it was anybody else I would have cancelled, but it was Dr. Ang, so I tried my best. I'm on very little sleep and emotional mental roller coaster, so forgive me a bit, but I really wanted to do this, and first and foremost I wanted to thank you. And I don't say this often, but I consider you as a Singaporean hero. I think we use the term heroes too loosely, and a lot of times we use it on politicians who do not deserve the term. But you are indeed a true Singaporean hero. I mean, that's the first thing I wanted to say. So let's get to it, Dr. Ang, right?
Sure.
So you always mention in your talks, in your blurbs, in your writings, that what motivates you is your Christian faith. But for a lot of people, they would say, but that's not the understanding of Christianity I know from my Singaporean friends, because if you are Singaporean, if you are Christian, it's almost by default that you are pro-Israel. So what explains your belief, and why is there this perception as well that if you are Christian, you have to be pro-Israel? So are you not a true Christian, or what? What does that?
Very good question. You see, the main thing about this, I grew up pro-Israel Christian, okay? And I believe that those who support Israel are blessed, those who don't support Israel are cursed, right? Like that, very simplistic. Until I actually worked in the Palestinian refugee camps and met Palestinians. And when they were massacred, I was devastated. And of course, the majority of people who live in that refugee camp were Muslim. And unfortunately, even at that point, I wear my Christianity on the forehead. Now I wear Palestine on my forehead. And so everybody know that I'm a Christian. And there they are, the Israelis use the Christian militia people to murder the Palestinians.
This is the Sabra and Shatila in Lebanon, 1982.
So how am I going to reconcile that? Where, should I give up my God? Or is it really the work of God or not? So I've got to re-examine my faith, my conscience, and I've got to read the Bible from end to end, okay? So, and remember my background is teaching Sunday school, okay? Joshua destroyed the the battle of Jericho, the walls came coming down, and Joshua went and destroyed the Amalek, very much Netanyahu, that kind of logic. So I got to find the true face of God, So, people always say that I refuse to believe in God because people are suffering too much. Either God don't exist or he don't care. But is it true? So I look at the book of Genesis and I read about how God drove the man and the woman out of the Garden of Eden. So for that, it will have end, the role of God. But it didn't end. God followed them out of the Garden of Eden and followed them right through and followed us. So that is God, And that time is no Muslim, Christian, and so on. That's only God, okay? And even then, if you look at the Abrahamic covenant, okay? Ismail and Isaac, Abraham has got two sons. And according to the book of Genesis, these sons are the sons who will inherit the land, right? The land belongs to them. There's nothing which says that the land belongs to Isaac's descendant or Ismail's descendant. They belong to both because they're sons of Abraham. So we use the Bible to make divisions very successfully. The American Bible Belt, 60 million, will support whatever Israel does. Yeah. But now they're shifting.
Yeah, it is.
They're shifting because, in a time of crisis, either you drop out of the faith and say, I despair, I take to alcohol, halas, okay? Or I, in all humility, ask God, you show me who are you? Why? And then I came to the conclusion that this God is not only the God of the Jews, they are the God of the Muslims and of the Christians. And we are all brothers and sisters, said so many times in the Bible. So how can I, take sides and use the Bible to justify the dispossession, the ethnic cleansing, the killing and the massacre, taking away 90% of the land, and now wanting to kill the remainder of the people in Gaza? Cannot. It's not scriptural. I think it's a blasphemy.
Right. Thank you. So Dr. Ang is one of those, there are many people who say they're friends of the Palestinians, but she is indeed a friend of the Palestinians. She's devoted most of her adult life to helping Palestinians as a doctor, as an orthopedic surgeon, helping Palestinian refugees. And you've put yourself at risk, in harm's way. You put your life on the line. And a lot of it is documented in this book. You can get it. Where can I get it now? If it's sold out at UNRWA already?
No. I will ask them to bring some more.
Okay. So you can still get it at UNRWA, and I think Kino as well. So from Beirut to Jerusalem, this was my introduction to her. And do you remember this documentary you did in the 80s, The Stubborn Doctor?
I did. That was pretty crazy.
And it was fascinating. I have a couple of questions. It's still available on YouTube. So I rewatched it yesterday in preparation for this interview. There was a line where you said Palestinians save you emotionally.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Okay. Oh my God. This is live. So that's why they asked. So then can you help me? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So what do you mean by Palestinians save you emotionally?
Yeah, because if my life is divided into two parts. Before I met Palestinians and after. Before I met Palestinians, I'm like most people. I worry about my career. I get upset, and so on and so forth. And I had a stormy early life in the UK. Trying to put my life together and so on and so forth. After I met Palestinians, I realized, they are my role model. They are the people who taught me the meaning of humanity, of struggle, of fighting for justice and freedom. So, yeah. So now, of course, I cry over Gaza and so on, but it's a different thing, and they came into my life as my family. So because I met them and because I journey with them, life has taken a totally different meaning. Yeah. And I'm going to tell everybody who participate in this program, a lot of you are watching all these things which is happening in Gaza. Today I've been asked a question, will there still be a Gaza? Right? Humanly, everybody watch it and cry and think that probably it will come to an end. But I can tell you, if you've got 42 years of walking with the Palestinians, you know that it won't. It won't end. Gaza will survive. And Gaza will rebuild. And no matter what happens, we can be here 10 years and there will still be Gaza.
Wow.
Yeah. 20 years, there'll still be Gaza. Right. Even through the midst of all this suffering, have you ever seen a Palestinian mother who lost all her kids that cursed God? Have you?
No.
Yeah. Sometimes people ask me, why do the Palestinian people in Gaza suffer so much? I've got nothing to say. I say, because maybe they are beloved of God. Because God loves them. And therefore He tests them. It's in your Quran. Okay?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So if they have that kind of strength, how dare I not have it? I call them my friends. And friends are supposed to be with each other, right? And so, we journey together, not only during good times, but also during bad times. And now is a bad time. We have no right to give up on that. They have not given up on themselves. They haven't.
No.
Yeah.
We have no right to give up on them because
Yeah.
they haven't given up on
Yeah.
themselves. I interviewed a Palestinian a couple of episodes ago, and he said, there is no time for despair. Palestinians don't have the luxury of despair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar to what you said. The other thing that struck me in that interview, right, and how you had, I don't know whether you would consider this, you had a feminist streak about you in that documentary, and you were talking about, you know, growing up in patriarchal systems, and you were always challenging it and so on. And I thought it dovetailed quite well with your own work on justice, the way you view justice. But it does seem to me, and you are based in the West, so you would know this better. It does seem to me that feminism is, or Western feminism, traditional Western feminism, is quite silent on Palestine and Palestinian women. Why is that the case? Or am I misreading?
No, you are perfectly correct. Okay, in fact, there's a webinar on that. I think tomorrow or something like that, which I'm going to miss. Okay? I'm not speaking, but I'm just learning. Because racism comes before feminism. Okay, I'm sorry to say that. In the West, I lived there so many years, maybe I can call myself a Westerner. We feel that we are superior. We know what's justice. We are feminists, you know, and blah, blah, and we seek career progression, parity, and so on. And what do third world women know about it? Okay? Yeah. So we are racist towards third world women. But we have forgotten the fact that without Palestinian women, in every crisis that the Palestinians go through, there will be literally no Palestine, but there will be a Palestine because they are Palestinian women. They are the ones who stay behind, repair the houses, bring up the children, and when the army comes in, the women will be there, facing the army. Right? So you might wonder, Palestinian women are very strong. Very, very strong. And then, the Arab women, you know, wear this. Okay, anyway, I wear this because I got chemotherapy, I lost all my hair. You know, I haven't converted. But really, you know, whether they wear a hijab, they are powerful women. They're educated. They're strong. You know, and the younger generation, they spoke perfect English. So they can debate any Israeli woman flat to the ground. But they're not given a chance. Okay? So feminism in the West, unfortunately, got a blind eye. Blind eye to the third world women, blind eye to the Palestinian women. And until we overcome that, we cannot say that we are fighting for justice for women. We are not. We are hypocrites.
Thank you. That was powerful. If I could be personal a little, right? So you have given your life for this cause, for the Palestinian cause, for the Palestinians. But you're not famous in Singapore. You know, your people don't know you. You are, and we'll get to that. You know, you were not wanted here for a while, right? I mean, I'm sure you thought it was worth it, right? But I guess so. The question is not, do you think it's worth it? The question, why do you think it's worth it? Like,
what?
Doing what you do and basically going into relative oblivion, I suppose. When you sacrifice so much, you would expect something in return, right? So what is that you get in return from this?
Yeah, it's not a sacrifice, you know. Firstly, it's a privilege. You know, it is a real privilege to be friends with the Palestinians. It's an honor to be with them. You know, I see it as a gift from God. You know, because, you do this, you got no reward. No, it's not reward. You know, when you lay your hands out and God put good deeds in your hand to do, you thank God for it. I don't expect anything back from anybody. The privilege is in being with them. Like when you're in love with someone, you don't say, wow, I'm in love with this man, what can I get out of it? And he's got no money, okay? Yeah, his career is kaput, okay? I better not go. But if you love with him, being in love with him and having his love back to you is already all that you ask for. I can't ask for more. I don't need acknowledgement from men, from countries, from people. I want them to support the Palestinians because they have to learn about justice. They have to learn about struggle. They have to learn about freedom. They have to learn about steadfastness and resilience. And they have to learn that until the Palestinians are free, we are all not free. We are suffering from all sorts. You know, okay, take feminism. If we cannot understand that the Palestinian women are the giants of feminism, our feminism is in vain, right? And if we refuse to relate to them, we are fools. We get more to lose, right? So the rewards are a lot, you know. So whether Singapore recognizes me, not important. Yeah, not important at all. I want to be in Gaza now. That's important. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I mean, that's why I said. I mean, you are super inspiring. Even that answer itself, it really typifies who you are. Why are you back here? And there was always the rumor going. I mean, you can confirm or disconfirm, right? That you are not allowed here, or I mean, this was always on online
I am
forum.
allowed. It is very good. Okay, because my husband was on the wanted list, and when they came to arrest him, he ran away, right? And we were married 2 weeks. A month later, I was put in prison too, okay? For my husband's sake. So I stood by my man. Okay.
This is true love.
so when I was allowed to go to England to meet him, to ask him to come back, he won't come back. But he said, you should go back because you lose a lot. You lose your career. We lose our home, you know, your family. You know, I'm happy here alone. You go back and water all the plants and look after the house, and maybe one day I'll come back. There's no way, you know. No way. That's not a way to start a marriage. And what wrong have you done? If I cannot do what you do, you know, that time I'm really low profile. I'm just a hospital doctor. I still am, you know. At least I stand by you, right? So, therefore, I am the wife of a refugee. And so I was. And as long as you file political asylum against a country, you cannot return to that country. Okay. But I didn't realize that Singapore has got a law which says you cannot hold dual nationality. For a long time, I was holding a travel document issued by the United Nations for people who are granted asylum. And it's absolutely hell to go in the Middle East. Because they look at me, you don't like a Palestinian. Why are you holding this kind of document? You don't look like Vietnamese because both people.
Right.
And why are you holding this kind of document? I said, because I'm a refugee from Singapore. Yeah, Singapore is a good country. What have you done wrong? So everywhere I go, I get trouble. And you know, one day it's even worse, okay? There's a newspaper called the Palestine Post, okay? I just came out of Gaza and I was visiting the European Commissioner to talk about the need for a new hospital in Gaza, you know? Because I work for WHO. So I got a whole stack of Palestine Post. I'm on page 1 with my photograph, page 3, Yasser Arafat. So I was going to Strasbourg. I already got a visa, but they look at me, they look at the document. You may be Vietnamese refugee, okay? But on the other hand, why are you on page 1 of the Palestine Post? Arafat on page 3. 4 hours.
Oh.
Yeah. Before I was allowed to go to Strasbourg, the European Parliament and Commission. So it happens all the time. Okay.
Until now? Or?
Now no more, that time. So that might be interesting. But when you are in the Middle East, you might end up in a prison where nobody you know where you are. So that's not right. So by about 1991, and then my parents died. I can't come back to the funeral. It's a big thing, you know. And I can't attend the funeral. When they're dying, I can't visit them. So I told Francis, I had enough, you know, I'm going to apply for British citizenship. And so I did. So then I got a British passport in the 90s. And And then the government caught up with me and said that you cannot hold dual citizenship. Either you give up Singapore or you give up Britain. I said I give up neither because I live in the UK. I need to work in the UK. I need to have, work permit and healthcare and all that. I can't give that up until I retire. I will not give up Singapore citizenship. Not because I'm bloody minded, but my husband said I cannot do it. So put the government on the spot, So anyway, so in 2022, they finally removed my citizenship. Now, it's an advantage, they told me. And I didn't realize because I can come into Singapore easily with a British passport.
Right.
Can you imagine that? I am still a Singaporean and I couldn't come into Singapore for 40-umpteen years. But now that I've lost my Singapore citizenship, I can come in and talk to you all. Talk to Harvard, talk to NUS,
Was this the first public talks? Was this the first public talks you gave?
When I brought Francis's ashes back, I gave a talk, but it's in a closed environment. So this time it's still not public because public talk, you need a license, right? Don't forget, don't get me into trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's more of a public profile, right? Is that why do you think that is the case? Is it because the public mood on Palestine has changed?
Yeah, and I didn't realize I'm coming back to Singapore on the Palestinian ticket. And the reason why I look forward to this trip is because Harvard say no censorship. You can talk about Gaza, say what you like, And I really wanted to come and talk about Gaza, talk about what we can do for Gaza. Why supporting Gaza make us more human? So it is actually the ticket of Gaza. And that's why I begin the last two talks by saying, I'm here speaking on behalf of the Palestinians who are the real heroes. Yeah. Without them, I would not be here. And, of course, landing here, I found out that things have changed. Things have changed. Not through my campaigning, nobody knows me. Okay? Not through the campaigning or anybody. It's through the efforts of the Palestinians.
Of course.
Yeah, what they have done, what they have stood, their courage. They are heroes. It's really heroic, seeing the Palestinians, the way they suffer, the way they're bombed and so on, they will not leave Gaza. What's there left in Gaza? There's nothing left, no homes, no food, no water, no medicine, being bombed day and night, no future. They're not going, they're staying. Can you ever match that? I can't.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no way. I know I couldn't match that. And one of the reasons why the Palestinian cause has gotten so much traction in Singapore and throughout the world is because of the Instagram profiles of the Palestinians themselves, right? The Gazans themselves, and it has penetrated the biases of Western media, which you are well aware of, right? In the UK, they always start a conversation with, "Do you condemn Hamas?" Right? Immediately the Palestinian side is put on the defensive, right? The Israelis are never asked that question.
Yeah. Can you explain why you do this to the Palestinians for 75 years, so much so that they were so angry that they did this? That should be the way it's right. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. So
I want to tell you something.
Please.
The mainstream media refused to cover the story of the Palestinians. And lately, everybody who spoke up for the Palestinians are called anti-Semites. They killed more than 100 journalists in Gaza to block the news. But what happened? The people who are being executed by the bombs, killed by the guns, are filming their own execution and sending it out live to the whole world before they die. Have you ever seen a situation like that? So now there's no such thing as, I didn't know it was like that. Nobody told me. No, you knew. It's no good saying sorry in 6 months' time. You got to do something right now.
How does this end, you think?
This one, I don't know how it will end. I know that Gaza will survive. I know it's going to be difficult. I know that we'll be here to help them rebuild. And it will be our honor to do that with them. That is how it will end. Okay. As to how ugly it will be, I cannot tell. They are testing the resolve of the Palestinians. But international solidarity and pressure has to go on. You know our demonstrations in the UK?
Yeah,
You've seen it?
Yeah, I attended one in December.
Wow.
Yeah,
fantastic. What do you think? Which
I
one?
loved it. So this was every Saturday, right? So I marched from East London and somewhere in East London, and at every one of these demonstrations there will be a Jewish contingent.
Yeah.
Right? So I managed to interview some of them as well. Yeah. And there is something about being in a group. Yeah. I mean, about demonstration, the solidarity, and it gives you more courage as well. Yeah. And also gives you a bit of hope, right? Yeah. I'm not the only one out there.
No, we are not the only one. And the East London demonstration is very small. Okay?
Yeah.
You tried the monthly demonstration.
Yeah, that was a million. Yeah, that
yeah.
was a million. I didn't manage to. Yeah.
So much so that even the police are very sympathetic, and they never had 1 million people out on the streets not being violent. Okay. So I think times have changed. You know, in 1982, when I went back, it was really miserable. You know, the camps were massacred, the homes were destroyed. You know, come back, you know, try to call a meeting, 20 people turn up, demonstration, 500, you know. And then with every time something horrible happened to the Palestinians, they spoke up, we spoke up, and then now we have 1 million.
I remember in that documentary as well. During lunch, you were doing a presentation to your colleagues. How was it received back then versus now? Like your activism back then?
I think it's actually very strange. You know, you would not call 1985, 87. You would not say that Britain is pro-Palestine, but because I'm working with my colleagues, they know that it's not a lie.
Right.
Whether they want to openly support you or not, it's not the point.
Right.
I think, you know, people are people, you know, and there is kindness, there is fair play, okay? You know, the first thing the British children say, not fair, okay? You know, there has to be fair play. When that happened to the Palestinians, they say, yeah, but the Jews suffer so much.
Right.
Okay, all right, we know that. I'm not denying that. You know, and I cried when I was a girl watching, you know, the Jewish Holocaust. I did, yeah. But why does that make it correct to do that to the Palestinians? Yeah. I can't connect, you know. You know, we have got a problem with anti-Semitism in Europe, in particular Germany. But why make the Palestinians pay the price?
Right.
Yeah. So it makes no sense, okay? So there's a lot of nonsense going on in disjointed thinking. So my colleagues were okay. You know, whether when I go up for a job and in a place when they don't know me and they read my profile, my God, you know, not a real doctor, Palestinian activist, you know, that's a different story, okay? And sometimes I got called up before the interview and say that, look, if you turn up for the job, you know, we will have to appoint you because you're the best candidate, but because of your Palestine profile, life will be very uncomfortable in the hospital.
Oh, so you'll get the job, but they'll ostracize you, or what?
They actually, this is always before the job. So if I were you, I should withdraw.
Oh, so they want you to, instead of them doing it.
Yeah, like that. Okay, that's okay, you know. So what? What's the matter? Go apply for another one. What's the problem here? Not easy in life, okay? But you know, whatever I suffer from, the Palestinians suffer a lot more. A lot more. And if you want to support them, you support them. Yeah. And I've never regretted.
What about an ordinary Singaporean, right, who may respond? By the way, if you have comments or questions, please feel free to type them. And if they are good ones, you can read them as well. So, ordinary Singaporeans will say, yeah, Dr. Ong, that's the highest level of sacrifice. I'm just an ordinary Singaporean. For me, like, losing a job opportunity is a big deal, so I don't want to do that. What can I do in my little capacity without sacrificing the things that, even though you don't consider it a sacrifice, other people may?
Look, medical aid for Palestinians is set up to raise money to send to the refugee camps, to buy antibiotics, to rebuild the damaged hospitals and maybe finance scholarship. That was our aim, okay? But we want to be a channel between the British people to support the Palestinians. We are not asking them to call for an end to occupation. Nobody does that, okay? We are not condemning anybody. We just want to help alleviate the suffering of the Palestinians.
Why don't you do? Why don't you call for an end?
Because that is political, all right? So I'm talking about the beginning.
Right,
82.
Okay.
So by the time we get our act together, 1984, we get our first £600 and we want to send it to the women of Gaza Hospital, the General Union of Palestinian Women, to rebuild the sewage that's been destroyed. But before we can even send the money, the camps were attacked again. And my nurses have to defend the camp, took up guns to fight.
Wow.
And many of them were killed. The bodies are still buried in the mosque. So if you come to Shatila camp, you will see the martyrs, okay?
And these are people you knew personally?
Yeah. Nurses I trained not to defend the hospital, but to look after patients. Yeah. Nala died, so many others, okay? But what did we do? We respond by sending teams to shore up the work of the Palestine Red Crescent Society. So instead of one or two persons putting in a position to understand what the Palestinians are going through, we multiply it. So they come back and they do their own things. So MAP has now grown very big. We have got projects in Lebanon, in Gaza, and we also have projects, in Lebanon and all that. So really our volunteers are putting their lives on the line to save and to work with the Palestinians. Yeah. So, that's what we do now. And our trucks are all in a queue in Rafah, waiting for the Rafah crossing to open to get in. Now maybe we get in 5 trucks a day, but hopefully we get 50 in. Yeah.
Okay. I remember also you mentioned that
and Singapore can start like that. It's not political
right,
at all.
so let's start it. And this is a smart way of doing activism as well, right? Like,
when it's
one
about
of the ways,
people say, I want to be humanitarian, I want to be an activist.
Yeah.
But I was upset when they called me an activist.
Why?
Because I thought I was humanitarian. I said, wait, since when I've become an activist? Yeah, but I said it's good to be an activist, okay?
I remember you said that you and your husband got into a lot of fights not because you wanted to go. He never had an issue with that.
Yeah.
But when you wanted to bring people over, because he said then these people
risking their life,
right? So there was a lot of real danger.
Yeah, it is very difficult because one of our mission about 6 weeks ago, working in Gaza, emergency medical team, the house they lived in was bombed. Yeah, 1,000-pound bomb.
Wow.
But they hit the wrong part of the house. Maybe deliberately just warn them. You see, so it's not funny at all. But that whole bunch, after a rest, wants to go back in July. So I said, thank God, I'm not on the board of trustee. I don't have to make decisions. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are good people. Sometimes you must know how to limit them. Yeah.
Right. I think what you said earlier also gives a bit of hope. So even people who are not pro-Palestine, but if you prod them enough, they are gonna see the humanity of the issue, right? And you've seen this throughout your 40 years in. Yeah,
because people start to debate with me. This. I said, look, please, please don't go for summer holiday. Use your airfare, fly into either Lebanon or West Bank, and spend 3 days living in a refugee camp, come back and let's talk. Because it's so difficult to explain. Actually, it's so simple.
yeah.
It's so really simple that you can't understand what the problem is. Oh, but listen, if you live in that kind of thing for 3 days, come back and let's talk. It is very interesting. There's a very, very forceful kind of senior surgeon, you know, and we used to argue about my activities. If anyone would block my leave to go to Gaza, that would be him, you know, at that time. So one day, the Israelis invited him to talk at a conference in Tel Aviv. After he finished, they said, "Oh, can we take you to see some nice places in Israel?" He said, "I want to see the West Bank." So the Israelis said, no, West Bank is no go, you can't go. He said, "Okay, I hire a cab." So he hired a cab, and the taxi driver drove him to the Kalanda checkpoint. You don't know West Bank, you have been. So that was a horrible checkpoint. And he saw all the Palestinian strip search. He's got down his pants. I said, my God. He was looking at it and got in and see the refugee camps. He come back. And he phoned me and said, "May we talk?" I said, "Yeah, of course. What do you want?" So he said, "How can you allow such a situation to stay in this kind of situation?" I said, "Me?" I said, "You are the one who refused to believe me." I said, "You want to do something now." Right. He said, "Maybe you can send me to Gaza. I build up the trauma service for them." Argument ended. Okay, you don't have to debate. Right. So that's why I think seeing with your own eyes are very important. But now we are seeing with our own eyes because we are seeing in real time. Right. You know how Gaza is being destroyed this particular moment, even as we talk. Right. And a famine and a drought.
Yeah. Man-made one, right? So I'm always fascinated by people like you. You know, my uncle just passed, and I was reflecting a lot on his life, not people like him. I mean, of course, not at your level, but the fundamental principle is always the same. I feel like their life was always in service for others, right? And on the other hand, I deal with a younger generation, you know, in my teaching, in my interactions with generation that talks a lot about self-care and so on, right? Yeah. Words which are alien to people like my uncle or yourself, right? So I guess but I am just curious, right? How does, I mean, maybe you don't like the word. Okay.
No. I know the word. Yeah. The management imposed it on us.
But how does that look like for you? Because just for a person who's going through the feed, it can get so overwhelming to the point that you don't want to. Honestly, I go through the feed. My feed is full of this. That's the last thing I see before I sleep. That's the first thing I see when I wake up. I've been to the West Bank before. I've seen this people strip search. And the only thing that you wonder is, when will these people become radicalized? It's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of when will these young men become radicalized, when you do this to them every day. But it takes a toll on you emotionally. So it takes a toll on me. Like, I find it sometimes even hard to function, right? Yeah. But what about you? Like, you've seen this firsthand. Like, so how does self-care look like for you? If not that term, but at least the concept.
Yeah. I don't do self-care.
I suspected so.
I don't do self-care. And the Palestinians are not going through post-traumatic stress. It's just trauma, non-stop. Okay? If you have any illusions, go and do something for them. You feel a lot better.
Oh, that's really good. I think that's a philosophy that people who lead their lives in service of others have.
Yeah, you see, at my age, you know, coming out of breast cancer treatment, you know, every day I live is a day I can serve the Palestinian people, and I'm very happy. Yeah, and you look at my friends, you know, they're very happy. You know, I was in Cairo, and I don't know whether you know Matt Gilbert. If you want him on your podcast, I can contact him.
Oh, yes, I do.
So Matt and I go back a long way, right? We met in 1982 when you know, half of Lebanon was bombed. And And Max was waiting to go into Gaza. They won't let him in. And there was me. And we were looking at each other. But he looked so happy. So happy. So I said, Max, how long are you going to wait for them to let you in? You can't stay here forever like that. He said, maybe until I die. I said, that's going to be a very long time. So, it's okay. If you give your life to a service of a people, then your heart is at rest, right? You don't have to worry about this and another. House in a mess, who cares, Hospital angry, and they dare not be angry. Right? Yeah. And in fact, I tell you what happened. I was on the Freedom Flotilla, arrested, went to Israeli prison. And I said, my goodness,
This is 2010.
2018. Yeah. Another one is going this year, but I'm too ill, I can't go on. I mean, the first wave that come, I will fracture my femur. So, when I was coming out, I came back to prison, and then I went back to work early in the morning at about 7:30. I said, my goodness, as I walk in the department, I say, I don't know what my colleagues will think of me. So old and do this kind of risky thing, what's the matter with that woman, And you know what happened? As I stepped into the seminar room, they all stood down and clapped.
Wow.
Yeah. You see? And I didn't realize when I was in prison, all of them were lobbying the MPs, writing to the BBC, demanding my release. So talk about being radicalized, These are top British orthopedic surgeons, very, very famous. So it's great. Yeah. So you see, it's very difficult because you only make changes as you change people. It's very difficult because you change people's mindset, and they have to really experience to understand it, but it can happen. I got to undo years of prejudice before I can really open my heart and life to the Palestinians. I remember the first time I met Yasser Arafat. I was in Cyprus, and it was just a normal NGO, and someone whispered in here, the chairman wants to give you an award. I said, which chairman? He said, oh, Abu Amma is here. I said, no, I don't want to meet him. And then there's no choice because you're so crowded. I pushed to the front, and I felt, yucks, do I actually got to embrace Yasser Arafat and have a picture taken and sent around the world? You see, it's that kind of prejudice. He has never wronged me.
Right.
His people love him. And if you love the Palestinian people, you must love him too. So what the hell is the matter with my brain? Yeah. So now in the new edition, I didn't publish the picture of me with Yasser Arafat. I published a picture of Francis with Yasser Arafat.
Oh, okay.
So you have it there.
Right. Okay.
You look it up.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not often that I can have a conversation with someone and the line goes, when I first met Yasser Arafat.
That shows my age. You see?
No, shows your prominence as well. Just a tidbit for you, Dr. My brother's name is Yasser Arafat. So
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. So he was named after Yasser Arafat. Yeah. So if I were to ask you, right, and you look back at your life, and all the things you've done, right? What would be the thing that, if you could overcome your natural predisposition towards humility, what is the thing that you're proudest of, and what is the one thing that you wish you could have done something else, or you could have done better?
Oh yeah, this kind of question very hard to answer. Yeah, I should have actually thought about it. Okay, the thing which I'm most proud of is to be able to stand next to the Palestinians. No doubt about it. The place I want to be right now is Gaza. Okay, that is a fact. Okay, and what do I need to do earlier? I wish to God that I visited the Palestinians and shouldn't have to wait until I see them die. What a horrible way to find out about our people. And just 3 weeks before they died, I still thought of them as terrorists. That is horrible. Nobody should find out about the Palestinians that way.
And what about, so that's a personal hope or personal reflection. What about looking at Singapore as someone, and this is the final question, at Singapore as someone who's been a friend of the Palestinians for the longest time, right? What do you think is a feasible thing for younger Singaporeans who are very concerned about the Palestinian cause? What do you think is feasible for us to achieve?
Okay, I want to tell you, when I was flying here, before I got to put in airplane mode, okay, I read that an organization called RALAF or what, the Rahmatan.
Oh yeah, RLAF, Rahmatan Lil Alamin Foundation.
Yeah, have just donated a total in 2 allotments of $6 million to UNRWA.
Yeah.
Now, if you know the background to UNRWA,
yeah,
UNRWA is an organization that looks after Palestinian humanitarian. Okay, but when the ICJ made the recommendations of increasing the aid and so on, Israel's retaliation the following day is to say that 12 UNRWA employees joined the Hamas attack. They can only confirm that 2 did because they found the dead bodies, okay, among those killed in Israel. But based on that, they have campaigned to remove funding to UNRWA. Okay, UNRWA's annual budget in 2023 is 1.6 billion pounds. Because you're thinking, why so much money? There's 6 million Palestinians in exile in the refugee camp. Destitute. In Lebanon, they got no work permit. Okay, so the feeding programs and so on. In occupied Palestine, the West Bank, Gaza, and all the constant rebuilding that they have to do. Okay, so if actually 12 out of 30,000 UNRWA employees have gone off their honkers and gone to do a thing like that, do you collectively punish the whole of UNRWA by removing their funding?
Yeah.
Those countries which actually pledged to remove and has removed the funding, USA, UK and so on, together contribute 75% of the total UNRWA budgets. So how is UNRWA going to survive? Right. So now, but to most people, supporting UNRWA is not political.
Right.
It is humanitarian. The Palestinians sometimes have problems with it because the UNRWA reminds them that they're refugees since 1948. Not nice. Okay? But when it comes to living and survival, they need it. Okay? And one more thing about UNRWA, very important. Every UNRWA refugee card reminds the world that they're Palestinian refugee who have the right of return. So that is why they want to get rid of UNRWA. Okay? So that is the political bit of UNRWA. UNRWA didn't have a right of return 194, they never say a word, okay?
Right.
But by their existence, keeping all the refugees together, they maintain the problem.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a real thing. So what RALAF has done is $6 million. Quietly, just like that. No song and dance, so nobody will take away your job, you know. Like I say this morning, hold a tea party, you know, make nice square, everybody contribute. And then if you do it every week in turns, then the money can go to UNRWA. Then also try and campaign. You know, I'm writing to all the embassies to ask them to consider making up the funding. It's a lot of money to raise, okay? But I know that the tide is turning. And we cannot say we support the Palestinians and we despair and we cry and then we give up the struggle.
Right.
That is not an option, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
One word to describe how you feel about this trip when you leave. One word to this.
Hopeful. Hopeful that I can see a future for the Palestinians in Singapore. That's very important.
Which you've never seen before this.
Yeah, I've never seen before. So for that, you see, I'm very grateful to be here. Like they acknowledge me, I'm not important. At my age, what I want, I don't need money, I don't need a home, I don't need an award, I don't need anything. But to know that there is a future for the Palestinians in Singapore, that's all I ask for. And I've seen it.
I definitely acknowledge you, and I know many people in civil society do as well. Anyone who knows anything about you will. And I really hope, I mean, part of what I want to do is to make your work more accessible to others and more popular or more widely read. I think that's important. It helps, I speak a lot about Palestine as well, but I think it helps coming from you far more. First of all, because if I speak, well, oh, you're a Muslim, of course you will. But second of all, you have been there, done that. You have seen this person.
If you are a Muslim, it's more important because it is you who has the right. The victims have no right to speak, Somebody has to speak for them. My Palestinian friends, you talk. Just a microphone. They believe you.
Right.
Come on, Since when that happened? Yeah. You mean victims of injustice has no right to speak? Is that the law? Is that a rule? Who put it up? Yeah.
Dr. Ang, thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you for, despite your personal circumstances.
No, I wouldn't miss this for the world. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Make sure it's usable. Yeah. It's out already, isn't it? It's live.
Yes.